It's close enough to 6:30. We'll call the July meeting to order. Scott, if you would do a roll call, please.
Yes, in attendance tonight we have Richard Body, Councilor Eric Hoffman, Jane LaRoche, Chair Michael Delavecchia, Marcia Hayward, Rob Moore, myself, Scott Pelchat. Mr. Chair.
And everybody got a chance to review the minutes of last meeting?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you,
Second.
Marcia.
Second?
Richard, all in favor? Very good. I know there's a lot in the audience tonight. We had a request from the White Oaks Road application to hold it at the end of the meeting instead because the lawyer representing White Oaks is being delayed and he will be here before the meeting is closed. So that on the agenda will be moved to the end of tonight's agenda. I'm sorry if it inconveniences you folks. Moving right along. We have 15 Morris Avenue in the Weirs seeking a variance. This is continued from the June meeting. Hello.
Thank you. Hi, Jim Coles, Counsel for Community Rentals. And we are here today. You're correct, this was continued from the last hearing. There were two variance applications that were filed on April 24th. The first was a setback variance that was granted unanimously on May 19th. We are here tonight on a driveway access variance, and that's the only matter that is currently pending before the ZBA about this project. Granting Community Rentals a variance to construct a 3-foot by 3-foot 4-inch driveway and not a 19-foot driveway, which is what the ordinance would call for, is not contrary to the public interest, looking at the first prong. To determine that, the handbook suggests that you look at whether it alters the essential character of the neighborhood or if it would threaten the public health, safety, or welfare. As I said before, a setback variance was unanimously approved and met all the criteria. I believe that the driveway one does as well. First, in terms of the essential character of the neighborhood, this is a densely packed residential neighborhood where Morris Avenue is situated near the Weirs Beach area. Most of the homes are either 3-story or 2-story residential or commercial residential homes with people renting them out. And it very much lacks any off-street parking or where you can really park off-street easily and safely. But despite the tight area that this property presents with in terms of development through vertical development, my clients have been able to construct a proposed garage on the bottom level of the building, which from me inspecting this area and checking on Google Maps just to see if anything else had happened more recently, it might be the only property on this road really in the area that would have a garage where off-street parking would be available. That was one of the main complaints by many abutters had to do with the off-street parking. So literally just because of the way that this property is situated and it being on a hill is the only way that this would actually be able to work. The only issue is a 19-foot driveway is out of the question given how small this lot is. The garage will benefit both Community Rentals and the public, but probably more so the public in the neighborhood, because by removing cars from the road, you are going to see less congestion and density, which was one of the main complaints that abutters had. So from there, also my clients have really made changes from what they had originally proposed or what they wanted to do back in February. When we were originally here, there were going to be, I believe, 6 or 7 variances would have been required. Now we're down to 2, one of which was already approved, so we're now just here for the last one. They originally had a larger building. It was originally going to be 2 families. Now it's only a single family. And previously a height variance was needed. Now it's not. And Exhibit 19, which was filed before or after the last meeting, shows a side elevation of the property, shows that everything's under the 35 limit height in the ordinance. And they've also changed the construction of the garage. Originally, they planned on doing 2 different garage doors, but after the May 19th hearing, they revisited that, and instead now, as shown on Exhibit 19, it is now a larger garage door. The logic being, with a larger garage door, it makes it easier for both ingress and egress. It makes it easier to see coming out. Most modern cars, I mean, have backup cameras anyways, but even if something wasn't like that, by going in this way, it provides better sight lines in all directions. Whether somebody would back into the driveway or the garage area, I think would be up to them. I don't think you need to micromanage people to that level, but that would be another way for people to come in and out easily without having any issues in terms of sight lines and being able to access the property, and having their garage there, like in any way, I think is at a premium for this area, given all the issues with congestion that happens during the summer. So basically less cars on the street and no cars in the driveway at 15 Morris Avenue, given how small it is and what we're talking about. And also, no variance was needed for the amount of parking spaces, because this garage would be big enough to house 2 very large vehicles or 4 smaller compact vehicles. So again, the idea would be to try to keep as much congestion as possible off of the road. Second, the new construction will not threaten the public health, safety, or welfare of the neighborhood. I think complete opposite. By getting more cars off of the road, that's going to be easier for emergency vehicles to get in and out, and for access in general. So it would be in the public interest in order to have this approved. And I would also point out that this project, everything is becoming more conforming as a result of it. And while the driveway is simply too small to fit with the ordinance itself, I would note that a neighbor, James and Pamela Cott, years ago in 2018, were granted a variance, and in their situation, they were actually becoming more non-conforming by increasing the size of the second story of their home. But I believe that the ZBA back in 2018 hit it on the head by saying that this is essentially an old cottage being improved in a neighborhood where that's happening. That's happening also in Centennial Avenue and some of the other roads in that area as well. And because of the nature of the lots, the only additions can be upstairs. This is basically taking a very similar principle. We right now have a very non-conforming building that's literally partially on Morris Avenue. When you look at the tax records, moving all of that back, being farther off the setbacks, and being more conforming with the ordinance as a result of it. So I believe the first prong is met. For the second one, the spirit of the ordinance, I'm not going to restate everything I just said about the neighborhood, about the public health and safety, but off-street parking is in line with basic zoning objectives like reducing congestion, improving public health and safety, making it easier for emergency vehicles to enter, exit, and access Morin Avenue. And the number of parking spaces is actually within the ordinance as it is, so the only issue is just the length of the driveway. For the third prong, substantial justice is done. The handbook basically says that perhaps the only guiding rule is that any loss to the individual that is outweighed by gain to the general public would be an injustice. Here, again, I think we've got a win-win situation when it comes to just the driveway access variance before the board. Off-street parking means less congestion, like I said, better public health and safety, like I already said, and a smaller driveway on some level means less asphalt or less pervious construction being used, which is important because we are also in the shoreland protection overlay district as well. So having less impervious structures is also something that's a benefit to the area. And again, we're talking about a 3-foot 4-inch driveway versus a 19-foot driveway, which is just completely impossible on a lot of this size. For the fourth prong, in terms of the values of surrounding properties, this was also addressed at the last hearing. Local realtor Shannon Casey was here, was expressing her support for the project, and that this would not only not reduce the value of properties that are in the surrounding area, it would most likely increase them. It will certainly increase the value tax-wise of the actual property itself. As of right now, there is a rundown, dilapidated building that's really not that safe. This would not only make it more conforming in terms of setbacks, green space, and other issues, it would also be taking something that's literally on the road right now partially and moving it off and making it compliant with setbacks. And again, the only issue is just the driveway is too short because of the unique area that we're dealing with. So in some, they shouldn't have any properties go down as a result of this. If anything, it would just increase property values in the area. In terms of the special conditions of the property, here we have a very small lot in a very densely packed area. Compared to other lots that are in this same neighborhood, that might be able to support a 19-foot driveway. This is not one of them. It is simply too small. And if they were forced, my clients were forced to build something that strictly complies with the ordinance, we'd be looking at a 40-foot by 6-foot by 35 height building, which is absurd. No garage would fit in that, and I don't think any reasonable human would even want to go in that building whatsoever. So again, I would restate just the benefits to the public and the neighborhood in terms of off-street parking, in terms of the benefits to the public health, safety, and welfare, and that again, a smaller driveway means less impervious structure being built in the Shoreland Protection Overlay District. Finally, the proposed use is reasonable. What we're talking about is somehow fitting in a 2 to 4 car garage in an area that completely doesn't have garages where off-street parking is needed. And they have managed to do that simply because of the fact that it's slightly on a hill and that the 35-foot height ordinance allows them to get all of this done within the building. Finally, it would be an unnecessary hardship if this were not to go through. I already discussed how strange this building would look if it was completely in line with all of the setbacks and all of the different aspects of the ordinance. And all we're talking about today is just a 3-foot 4-inch driveway versus a 19-foot driveway. And on balance, I believe that this will benefit the entire area, not just my clients, but arguably, because parking is at such a premium, this might benefit the neighborhood even more than my clients. Do you have any questions for me?
Very good, Attorney Coles. Any questions from the board?
Yes.
I'm just curious. The land when I'm facing the property, I'm facing that building, the land to the right of that seems like you could have had a driveway there. I'm just curious why you're not using that space.
I think if they had tried to do that, it would have drastically got rid of the living space that's in the building, because then you would have been going in on the first floor, so all of that would have been lost, and that turn would have been also quite tight. I don't know if they would have been able to pull that off versus coming in from Morris Avenue. I think there's a better turning radius to actually get into the building. If you were using what I'll refer to as like the old Wesley Avenue portion,
Yeah.
that would be a series of tight turns that I don't think would be able to logistically work.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions from the zoning board?
Yeah, just one for me. So
Yes.
just to recap, and I think that was covered in the April meeting, you're going to take the Wesley Ave property, you're going to bisect that, and half of that is going to become part of the Morris Ave, and then the other half is going to be part of Allen.
Correct. So my clients are the owners of 2 LLCs. Community Rentals is one of them. The other one owns
Understood.
Wesley
Yeah.
Avenue. And I believe it's the entirety of Wesley Avenue, not half of it. I think originally half of it was contemplated, but it would be all of Wesley Avenue would become part of this property,
Okay, so all of Wesley Avenue becomes part of Morris.
which is a contingent precedent in terms of the last
Sure,
ordinance
yeah,
that
I
was
get
just
that, I get that,
granted.
yeah, yeah.
Variance that was
So,
granted.
yeah, your square footage and all of that comes down to there. Now.
Yep.
Okay, I'm complete, thank you.
All right, anything further?
No, Mr. Coles, have a seat, please, and I'll ask if there's anybody from the public that would like to speak for or against this application. Please come up now.
You have a letter that was presented that you probably should acknowledge.
Except for White Oaks Road, though.
No, this is 15. I think this is 15 Morris Ave. We got one.
Okay.
Yeah, you emailed it to
Okay.
us. Yeah.
Hello, Noreen Kelly, a butter from 22 Morris. Just a couple of concerns here. We seem like we're just rehashing this over and over and over again, and the attorney did a nice job putting forth his plan, but we're back at square one again. That what are the tenants on Allen Lane doing if they now do not have access to the Wesley Ave to park their vehicles, because they are currently parking at 15 Morris. I appreciate that they're trying to address the concerns with a garage, but I was out there measuring today, and the pin in the street where my property is to the telephone pole where their property is 13 feet, that they're going to think they're going to swing in and back out and pull out. It's absurd to think that this is going to happen and there'll be enough room without them, pulling into someone else's property to do this. Therefore, I feel like the health and safety of the neighborhood and the tenants on this road is not seriously being concerned. If we rehash this, people have come and spoken about this, and it doesn't seem like this plan, has been resolved at all. I do have some photos to, if you want to see, just to show the narrowness of what I'm talking about.
I've been up there twice, and the road is probably no wider than my car.
Yes.
I totally understand how narrow that
100%.
street is.
Yes, yes. The other issue that they're talking about, this time around, they did submit some sort of sketch or drawing of what the property would look like. I think originally, I don't know if it was the March or the April hearing, they had said that a rooftop deck was, off the market, wasn't gonna be a plan, but it appears to be back again on the market in the sketch that, so now we're looking at, a garage, and then it looks like possibly 3 living floors above that, and then, a rooftop deck on top of this. There's no other building. The Lakeside, the old Lakeside Hotel isn't that big. I mean, it's gonna be just an albatross in this neighborhood. So much bigger than anything else. All the other homes there are, mostly 2-story homes with a peaked roof at 35, feet. They may hit 35 feet at the top of the hill, but at the bottom of the hill, I'm gonna tell you, it's more than 35 feet from the bottom of the hill to the top of what they're proposing. So, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Anybody else? Hello, sir.
Hello, Kevin Kelly, 22 Morris Ave. I just want to underscore that we don't believe the statement that it doesn't pose safety concern to the neighborhood. The reason they're building that property as large as they can is so they can have as many tenants living there as they can, right? And we know that their other property already has 4 vehicles that can't be accommodated, which is why they're using this current property to take care of the Allen Ave property. So if you grant this, there's no question, they've already talked about how there's a premium for parking. Though there are gonna be cars parked on that narrow street, and we're the last ones in. The Cots and ourselves are the last ones in that street. And if there's just one car parked in front of that house, even though they've got the garage, I'll go on a limb and say they're gonna have guests and visitors, and they're gonna be parking in front of that property. And all it takes is one car to block access, and if there's an emergency, we're gonna be scrambling to try and get that car out of the way. And there's no need for that, right? They have existing land now, as you know, right? They've got that side yard that can accommodate the parking. They're choosing not to keep that property so that they can maximize the square footage of the building. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? I'm sure they could find an alternative way to say they have to have, a 6-foot wide house and go 40 feet. There's gotta be something else, right? It's non-conforming now. I think everybody knows, there could still be a non-conforming house that could find a happy medium. But the way it is now with the parking, you're gonna end up having the neighborhood police that, and it doesn't have to be that way. You have the power here to say no. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Do you want to read the letter?
Rob says we don't have to read it, we just have to acknowledge the presence of
Okay,
it.
we did get a letter from Sean Flanagan. I don't have his address. I don't see it.
Allen Ave. He lives on Allen.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't see you come up here.
Allen, right here, 24 Allen.
Okay, 24 Allen.
24 Allen
We
Ave.
have a letter of opposition from them. State your name, ma'am.
Pamela Cott. I live at 22 Morris Ave. I'm the abutting neighbor. And there is just, it doesn't appear to me there is any room for a car to back out of that area without coming on someone else's property, which isn't my property, but the people be across the road from them. The parking situation now, there's 2 big trucks that live on Allen Ave. There's no way they can get in and out of their driveway without driving onto my neighbor's property. And I just think that they need to make sure they can get in and out, because there's not even 16 feet of road in front of 15 Morris Ave. It's only 13, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cott. Attorney Cole.
Yep.
Coles.
Cool, thank you.
do remember talking about a rooftop deck, and it looks like the new plan has a rooftop deck.
So, the original one, they're different. The original plan back in February had not only rooftop area, but this abutting part that jutted out that put it well past the 35-foot mark. They went back to the drawing board yet again, and 19 is what the proposed construction is. Everything is below the 35-foot mark, and to be clear, it's not 35 feet from the back area, it's the average grade. And it is all within the ordinance. So that is permissible. What wouldn't have been permissible without an ordinance is having that area on the top in which to come out from stairs, so they had to completely go back to the drawing board in that regard to get it under the actual height requirements. But again, Exhibit 19 shows that everything is below the 35 feet mark, and that's true for everyone in the neighborhood. Anybody can go that high because that's what the ordinance allows.
Are we gonna
for.
end up with a canopy up there on the roof? I'm kinda worried about that.
A canopy? Well, they wouldn't be allowed to put any kind of permanent structure up there whatsoever, because if they did, that would put it over the 35-foot mark, which would mean we would have to come here for a height variance, which we're not here for. We're only here for the driveway variance.
Right.
And it's because they otherwise are in compliance with every other aspect of the ordinance. I do understand the question though, but it is different from what the original one was back in February, because that did have, basically an enclosed stair area, which is not contemplated at this point. And if it did, then you guys would have to grant a height variance in order for them to do any of that. Also, in terms of the amount of people there, it's a single family residence, that's what's being proposed, not a multifamily residence. This is what the ordinance allows, and I don't think I said it before, the driveway would be 18 feet by 7 feet. It's not on the plan, but that's the dimensions of what we would be talking about, and you would be able to back in and get out going on. Again, Allen Ave, not coming down the Wesley Avenue side, because there was a question about that before. It is coming in directly from the road. So it is a tight area, but that's a problem that everybody deals with in this entire neighborhood. And they are trying to come up with a way to deal with the parking problem that everyone's that everyone's bringing up, and right to do so.
Very good, very good. Any other questions for rebuttal, Mr. Cole?
You have somebody back there.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Sean Flanagan, 24 Allen Ave. I just want to, I guess, question the attorney's description of the new submittal that I saw still shows a flat top roof with stairs, whether it's enclosed or, so the only change that I think they've made, and I do want to see a development put there. I'd like to see something with a peaked roof that is more in aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood. But that building that is submitted, that still has a flat top roof, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Still flat, so it's 35 feet instead of 44 feet. So all they've done is they've dropped the thing down to 35 feet for the height restriction, understand? But it's still a flat top roof with stairs. It's gonna invite people to be up there hooting and hollering at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's my point.
Yes, unfortunately, we can't tell them they have to build a house with a peaked roof. If they want to build it with a flat top.
Maybe down the road, things can change.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
The only other thing that I would add to that, my recollection, I think, during the first hearing that we had, were that there were some concerns voiced by abutters, I'm not sure if they're here today, about people being looky-loos and basically trespassing onto other people's properties. One way to avoid that would be giving some sort of vantage point for people to have a view without doing that, and hopefully that accomplishes that. But again, you are correct, it is within the ordinance, and we can't require people to have certain types of roofs and such as part of this
Thank you, sir.
process.
Okay.
You want to close the public portion?
Yes, we'll close the public meeting at this time, Scott. Discussion amongst the board. Personally, I don't have a problem with the driveway variance, because it'd be sort of like, in Key West, all these houses are built on stilts and cars pull underneath the houses. And that's basically what we're doing.
Yeah, what they've
here.
done is, so they've moved it further uphill a little bit, and even the neighbor's objection to driving on their property, they just have to manage that. They just have to make it work so that they're not driving on their other people's property. I actually like this newest rendition of the parking.
Mhm.
Yeah. Couple questions that I have. again, it's not in this packet, maybe it was present before, so the attorney, Jim, his name is not listed on anything validating that he's representing. Was there something on a previous?
Scott would be able to help us.
Okay,
with
so
that.
we're all set,
I
okay,
have cover pages from his.
right, okay, all right, fair point, okay, yeah. And now, so, Director, question for you. So, the people on Allen, so make sure I get the number right, on 18 Allen, so they currently are parking on property that is not their own, okay, which is nobody's issue except the owners of the property. So now that this ownership changes, whether that changes or not, again, that's not necessarily under the purview of our board here. But is there something like on the legal side of the town, because that property, the house is on the lot. There is no parking space whatsoever for that piece of property. Is there something, again, it wasn't before this application, so I don't think that it's, maybe I should just say it this way, if it's not under our purview in this meeting, then I'll just forget what I'm saying. But the city can't require, you need to build a garage in your house so you can park underneath it or whatsoever.
No, so this entire neighborhood was built in the late 1800s.
Pre-existing non-conforming,
It's
for sure.
it's prior to any planning and zoning rules or laws that we had adopted. We would not allow our neighborhood like this to be developed today.
Fair point.
Um,
So it's just, so relative to this meeting, the concerns of 18 Allen really have nothing to do with this meeting, with this application whatsoever. Okay, got that, all right. Okay, I'm complete, thank you. The parking, the variance for parking, it is more conforming. I'm gonna say, it's more conforming than less conforming, and I'm a fan of it. Parking under the building is a
Oh,
good idea.
absolutely. I think it's a good idea. I'm
Eric-
concerned with the
Eric has
height and what lies in the future.
But that's not
of-
our deal, I mean,
Today is only the parking, and
understand.
Eric has a comment.
Yeah, I'd still have some concerns about whether you can actually get a car into that garage, and I believe at the last meeting, we asked them to provide a sketch or turn radius showing
Mhm.
that it is actually possible to pull two cars into that garage, and the fact that that's not included in what we're looking at today, I mean, I can only assume that that means a diagram of it would not bear out their argument that you can park a car in that garage.
but isn't that not our deal here at zoning? That's gonna be picked up in planning. Planning is the one that actually says you need to have 5 foot 6 inches and you need to have 27 feet.
Well, if we're gonna grant a variance for the driveway, then we have to be assured that it's in the public's interest,
Fair point,
right?
okay, fair point.
That it's not creating a hazard in the neighborhood. If someone has to make a 7-point turn on that street to get their car into that garage several times a day, I think
Yeah.
that's,
It's a fair point.
right?
But if it is allowed, if that math works, then it's good. And we don't have a drawing for the current. I just see, so in the side elevation, I see
That's the only one we have.
I see,
this
and,
one here.
and so he's saying that the math works, and I'm, again, maybe, not seeing that, I guess maybe I'm believing that he's gonna take that math to planning, and planning's gonna say either yes or no. And I'm making the assumption that they're here tonight saying that it does work.
I believe with the double door, it is possible.
Yes.
You know, if both
first
cars are
car.
pulled in all the way, that gives you space behind to swing the front end a little bit. And
Right.
if there's a car parked across the street, it could be very tight, but I think back and forth you can make it.
So I am in favor of the parking, I'm in favor of the
The
variance
short
as
driveway,
it sits
yeah.
right now, making the assumption that planning will do the math on that, and if they want some correction, they can make it at that point.
Jane,
That's kind of where I am.
Marcia, anything?
Well, I was up there with my SUV, which they claim that they can get underneath, and I think it's going to be very difficult to get the car. You know, my car took up just about the entire road, and then you think about trying to swing to get underneath. I do think changing from a double, one door to a single big door is going to be helpful. And I do think that parking under the building is a good thing too, to get cars off. Is it gonna be difficult? I think it's gonna be difficult, but I don't think that that's going to be a reason for me to say no.
Fair point.
Okay, let's move along and
I have the same comment, pretty much what Marcia just said.
seek a motion.
I will make a motion to approve ZB 2025-057, a variance as requested in Article 8 for the ordinance to permit 235-50.1, as stated by Mr. Cowles on his presentation this evening.
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's, passes 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Coles.
Thank you very much.
Next up on my agenda is 10 Crescent Street.
It's 20 Crescent Street.
Is that a typo?
Is it? Because I have 20, but,
It's 10 on the tax form.
It's 10 on the tax form.
oh. Oh, and I'm sorry, it's my error. It is 10.
Hello, folks.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Caravona. This is my husband, John Caravona. We live at 10 Crescent Street in Laconia. I'm the homeowner. John is the business owner of Lakes Wholesale, currently doing business at 969 Union Ave, Unit 2. Forgive me. We are here today requesting permission to allow for a sign on our residential property where it will be used for home occupation. John currently has a home business office. However, he does not, really it's just to house files or paperwork or documents that he uses for tax purposes. When the Union Avenue business sold, new ownership, his current operation is no longer going to be sustainable. He's not going to be able to stay there. So we're hoping to kind of leverage the home office as a full-time home base for John. As a wholesale dealer, he will not have inventory on the property. No maintenance or repair of vehicles occurs on our property. It actually doesn't occur at his current business location either. We're just requesting that a sign go up on our home.
Very good.
Can you tell me the size of the sign that
I
you're
can.
planning to put up?
The current sign is approximately 6.5 feet long by 3 feet wide. It is blue with white letters. The letters are 10-inch letters, which is a requirement from the state of New Hampshire. The other requirements by the state are that the established place of business must clearly and conspicuously display the dealer's name, so the business name. The letters must be 10 inches in height, unless prohibited by local zoning ordinances, and visibility, so the signage must be clearly visible from a traveling vehicle on the adjacent public way, unless an obstruction exists where that cannot be remedied, and that's not the case, so the sign would go on the front of the home.
I thought the sign was gonna be as big as a sheet of paper.
No.
Didn't we did one similar to this a couple of months ago.
The one down on Valley,
Yeah, on Valley
But
Street.
if it's a state, I mean, the state is.
But it said, if not allowed by local ordinance.
But this is allowed by ordinance. He's allowed to have one.
Since he's in a residential district, he's not allowed to have the sign.
Let's have the public part first, and then we can do
Yeah.
this.
I thought on page 79 said he could have something.
Any questions from the board for these folks?
I guess I have a question. I mean, you're gonna be working out of the house, but your vehicles are gonna be somewhere else.
Correct.
Who's gonna be at somewhere else?
At the other
Watching.
location, I have somebody else at the other location.
Pardon?
I have someone else at the other location.
And
Where I keep all-
you can't have your office at that location.
No. It's not feasible for me to do that.
Any other questions for these folks? Okay, wife. Have a seat, please.
Thank you so much.
And I'll ask if there's any members of the public that have any comments about this project. Seeing there's no takers, I'll close the public meeting. I'm dismayed about the size. How did Valley Street get away with a small sign?
I don't know, must have been whatever they were required from the state.
It depends on also the business name, because it's a requirement that it's 10 inches in height per letter. I can't remember what their business name was, but it was pretty short.
So what does that mean, 10 inches in height per letter?
Each letter is 10 inches.
That's ridiculously huge.
That's not our requirement, that's the state.
Okay, so Marcia, you were saying that,
Well, on page 79,
Yeah, yeah.
which is what they're looking
Yep.
for a variance from,
right,
it says that there shall be no externally visible indication that the structure or property is used other than for residential use, and signs permitted are limited to those permitted for residential use. Business names may not be displayed in any fashion, so that's why they want this variance.
Yep.
And I think that there is something under, that I found.
Oh, under the specific sign ordinance?
Under the sign ordinance. So that's why they want the variance, but then if you go to the sign information,
what is the zone?
they are in,
TR?
no, they are RS. They are RS.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And,
Okay.
then I'm looking at the sign business.
Can I come and look with you?
Well, I haven't found it yet. I'm looking for the sign information.
So in the RS district, it would be permitted, 2 signs would be permitted at 42 square feet.
That's right, that's what I was looking, that's why I want to know the size.
It's the only stipulation that ends up getting them is that it's a home occupation, and the home occupation specifically limits them to not having a sign.
Yeah.
But you're right, the sign ordinance permits them to have a sign, but then the zoning ordinance under accessory uses doesn't permit them to
Doesn't
have the
permit,
sign.
yeah.
So that's kind of the
Okay.
catch-22 where we're at of,
Yeah.
one portion of the ordinance says yes, and the other portion says no.
So,
Right.
so 48 feet is, 8 foot by 6 feet.
And we did let Valley Street do this,
But their sign,
is smaller.
Right.
But yet they said that they were meeting the state,
The
they
state
were
requirement.
doing it because the state set out these requirements.
They did the exact same thing that these people are doing, and they provided the same exact paperwork that the state required them to
Right.
do, so.
So
how did
Director,
they get away with a small sign?
Like he said, it was probably.
I think their
a different
business name was much smaller.
And this is a car business.
Yeah, Valley Street was a car business also, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the exact same dealership license that they're looking for at that.
Why can't these people have a small sign?
As a state.
Just,
well, yeah, whatever sign they want, can't they?
No, they're trying to do what the state is asking them to do.
So does our zoning certainly supersedes that, but it seems to me that it's unclear, we're unclear about our requirements here. Is that true?
No, we're not unclear.
No, I think we're pretty clear, it's just,
Square footage clear?
the square footage is very clear that
Okay, so
they
that's
would
the
permit that.
48 square feet.
It's the home occupation that
Understood.
gets them.
Right, I
Yeah.
gotcha. Now, do you know if there's something in the state of New Hampshire that if you have a business, listed and a business, that you have to have a sign? There's nothing in New Hampshire that says that.
That you have to have a sign?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that there's anything that says you have to have a sign. I think for the specific dealership license, there's a state requirement that you do,
So that would be Allen.
and that's why they're here tonight.
Gotcha. Well, there's no objection from the neighbors, and it was clear what it is that they were. I mean, they're super close to, is it Union Ave that they're close to?
Highland,
It's-
Highland
Yeah,
Street.
it's right there. I mean, they're like 2
Highland and Union.
or 3 lots off from there.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm kind of amenable to it if it's what they want and none of the neighbors are complaining.
I hate to see us start putting
I know.
3 by 6 foot signs in residential neighborhoods.
Well,
Why can't we get away with a small sign?
state won't let them.
We trump the state, don't we? Our local,
Do we trump it? No, he's saying no.
I think the state said in their application that if, unless prohibited by local zoning.
well, it is prohibited by local zoning.
So I think it's that catch-22 there is, it wouldn't be prohibited if they made it a full-out-fledged business. Then you could do the sign. And they're trying to do a home occupation of less impact.
I'm all for home occupation. I have
Yeah,
nothing
sure.
against that.
Yep.
And I just want to see if we could make an exception and make a smaller sign instead of a 6x3.
I don't remember the size that the Valley Street had, because I know that
Oh, it's tiny.
we were, I think, amenable because it was gonna be small
Right.
and not,
You know, like some
not
people,
really,
like you
in
see
your
Notary
face.
Public,
Yeah.
you know, somebody has their name on the house, Notary Public underneath. That's fine.
But 6x3 is not that big. I mean,
It's as big as the door.
Yeah, but when you're 100 foot down the road, it's not that big.
But if you live next door, it is.
Okay. But I don't have any neighbors coming and saying,
No butters are here,
right,
really close to Union Ave.
Eric, what's your thoughts?
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
I think I would make one, if, maybe I'd make a suggestion in our, motion, is that, actually, direct a question. So if we approve this variance, is it a variance or an exception?
This is a variance.
Variance.
If we approve this variance, is it in perpetuity for the life regardless of the state of the business in the future? Or is it just business specific?
So all variances go with the property. All land use approvals go with the property. So if you approve a variance or a special exception, it goes with the property for the life of the property.
Right. So is it out of order for us to say, because it is in a residential district, to say that this variance is good for the life of the business?
No, legally you can't do that, though.
Okay.
It goes with the property.
Okay, I'm just asking the question. Okay. So I'm in favor, I'm in favor. That's it.
I'll seek a motion from somebody.
I make a motion to grant the application ZB 2025-66, granting a variance from Article 7, Section 235-41B3 to allow for a sign. The findings of fact are, number one, a sign advertising this business is not going to interfere with the safety and welfare of the neighborhood. So it will not alter the character of the neighborhood in that respect. And if it doesn't alter the character in terms of safety and welfare, then it meets the spirit of the ordinance, which is criterion number 2. Number 3, substantial justice is done because this individual would not be allowed to have his business granted by the state of New Hampshire without following this application and being granted the application. He wouldn't be allowed to have his business in his home. I don't think, number 4, that it's going to impact the values of the surrounding properties. I hope it doesn't, but I don't think it will. And number 5, if you had the literal conforming to the ordinance, I think we have a problem. As we pointed out, we kind of have a conflict between the ordinance, the home occupation ordinance and the sign ordinance, and so therefore, I think that we can't use the literal interpretation of our documents, and that this use is reasonable, and we want to be consistent with what we've done with other properties in the town.
I will second.
Thank you for that. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It passes 4-1. Good luck. Yep. Next on the agenda is 556 Weirs Boulevard, seeking a variance to allow for expansion of an existing structure. What's the SPOD overlay district?
Shoreline Protection Overlay District.
Shoreline protection, thank you.
Come on, Mike, you should know that by now.
Yes. Hello, sir. How can we help you?
Hey, good evening, everyone. So I'm Matthew Wessels. I'm representing myself and my wife, who's not here, back home with the family. We have a small condo in Langley Cove, Christmas Island area. If you don't know, there's a lot of little cottages all over the place. We're in Capri Association, which is a 6 condo unit. I'm requesting variance for going to add a vertical expansion directly straight upward of our small 420 square foot condo. Granted, the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because it supports a use and development pattern that is well established in both our 6 condo association, which 2 of the units actually have already gotten zoning board approval to go up, but also within the Langley Cove area and also on Weirs Boulevard. So it would allow for modest growth modest and functional growth with keeping in the scale of the designs of the surrounding area. If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the vertical addition does not expand outside the non-conforming footprint of the already existing property. The unit's existing encroachment wouldn't be worsened, and again, it would be consistent with both our architectural style and also the size of the properties in our condo association. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because denying us would, I guess, would be an unreasonable burden by preventing a functional expansion by allowing the similar situated neighbors to expand vertically, one of which is our immediate neighbor. To the values of the surrounding properties not be diminished, right? Because obviously, again, I'm repeating myself here, but most of them have gone up or on to 2 stories already. In addition, obviously, it would enhance the value of the property and maybe the area. The vertical expansion would, I put a lot of time into this write-up, so I'm like trying to just reread it. So owning a special conditions to the property that distinguish it from the properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because the unit's very small and we're a growing family. We have 1 child, 4 months old, another one's on the way. We have 2 bedrooms. We don't have a table. So we have a high chair in there for the kids eating in the living room. And we're just trying to get some more space, get some bedrooms. We can't even have people over really because the 2 bedrooms isn't enough. So the original footprint is constrained because it is close to the water. We can't really go out anywhere. So we're just trying to go straight up, keep within that same footprint. We've been working with NHDES trying to essentially avoid any permits that would be required, which is again, staying within that sort of vertical, I forget the words they used, but staying within that same exact footprint. So denying the application would, while others have received approval, would create an inconsistent, unfair hardship for our family. We're going to preserve the neighborhood character, the ordinance intends to preserve the neighborhood character, limit overcrowding, and prevent overbuilding. And since, this is really falling in line with everything else, with also the other properties that are going up, we feel that, it's a reasonable request.
Very good, Matthew. My only question is, I have a rendition of your building.
Right.
Is this your plan on building?
It's gonna have to
there's no
come in a little
changes?
bit. It's gotta come in a little bit.
Out.
Just because the roof line, which is what I had a conversation with NHDS on, the roof line is gonna go a little bit too far out. So we have to, those bump outs that were there over the eaves that are existing, that tiny little roof line at the very top would essentially cause that existing top-down structure to be outside of it. So if you see you know I'm talking about the bump outs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's it's just the only change that's gonna happen. It's just gonna bring it in.
Very good. Any other questions for him?
Yeah, Matt, so quick question.
Yeah.
So on the property I'm a little unclear which building is yours.
There's a lot of similar ones. So it's unit number 3. So if it's
Okay, unit number 3, I got
yeah.
you.
So if you look at the
No,
one,
I got it,
okay,
I'm all
okay.
set. So you're that line of 4 that are right along the water there.
Correct. Yes.
And we granted an approval on the other side of the property for them to build a 2nd floor, an expanded 2nd floor back a couple
Yeah.
years
Unit
ago.
6 and unit 3.
Yeah, fair enough.
So our direct neighbor, and that's the one that's also in between all of them, and then
Understood.
the other
Yep,
side.
fair
Yeah.
point. Okay, I'm complete.
Anything else? No? Have a seat, please, Matthew, and I'll ask if there's any public comment regarding this property. Please come up now. Since I'll do in honor of Steve Bogart, I'll give a 15-second clock down.
No, 5, not 15.
And that being said, we'll close the public meeting. Public hearing, public comment section. What's the proper term, Marcia?
Public,
Public comment.
the public portion.
Public comment portion. Very good. I don't see a problem with this addition. It looks pretty in the pictures.
We've been doing this across the board with these small structures
Yeah.
like this, and any issues
We've already done it, so.
He's
we
not
can't-
going as
on the
high.
same property. And any
Can't
issues,
deny it.
Square, so,
any issues relative to building, or that'll be taken care of by planning into the building.
very good.
I have no problem with
No problems.
So let's seek a motion and get Matthew on his way.
I make a motion to grant, application ZB 2025-67 to allow for a variance from Article 4, and Section 235-19F, subsection 2B, and using as the finding of facts the, narrative that was used in the application.
Thank you, Marcia. We have a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Richard. Any further discussion? That being said, all in favor? It passes. Good luck, Matthew.
Thank you.
Enjoy your new home. Your fixed-up home, I should say.
Trying to get back up to New Hampshire. I convinced the wife, so this is
Very-
good.
Hey, you won't go wrong.
Your mom is Sue?
Jeepers creepers.
Okay.
I'm missing something.
Okay.
I am an old man.
What did I do?
Next up is 78 Garfield Street. Seeking a variance to allow for encroachment, to allow construction, reconstruction of a garage. Hi, folks.
How you doing?
Mr. Gleason?
Yes, my garage as it sits right now is right on our property line, and the trees that are there are pushing the foundation in, so every time it rains, water just comes right in the garage. So we're looking to tear it down, but in the mix of tearing it down and building a new one, my vehicles don't fit in the garage. So we're looking to just pull the garage over 5 feet into my yard and push it 10 feet to the right-hand side in my yard. We're not looking to really go any closer to any property lines. If anything, we're pulling it off the property lines to make it a little more conforming.
So the reason that, so you're pushing it to the right and swiveling it forward, so that's why you need the variance for the front setback, right? Because
Right,
because the angle is pushing you.
right, it's right on the property line, pretty
Right.
much, on the driveway. And then behind the garage, it's about 8 feet off the property line. So we're just kind of looking to pull it into the yard a little bit and just twist it just a little bit.
So that's why you want a front.
Front and side.
A front and a side setback.
Correct.
The rear side.
Why do we need a front setback?
No, it's the rear and the side.
It's a rear and a side.
It's a rear and a side?
Yeah.
It's not a front.
It's not the front.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry
I
about
thought
that.
where he was swiveling it
Yeah.
forward, it needed the front. So it's just rear and side.
Correct.
Okay.
You're gonna come away from the property line, you'll have 5 feet where you have 0 right now?
We're pulling it off about 2 feet off the property line.
2 feet on.
Yeah, just enough to put some sand and stuff in there so that way the roots will stop pushing in the foundation.
Any other questions for these folks? Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Gleason, have a seat, please, and I'll ask if there's any public comment about this property. Please come up now. Seeing that there's no takers, we'll close the public hearing and discussion amongst the board.
The entire neighborhood is loaded with pre-existing non-conforming, right on the other side of their line. That garage is right on the property line.
Right.
Probably similar to where the existing building is right now. So they're seeking relief and really just, this is exactly why we're here.
It actually is going to improve things.
It is
because-
improving it a little bit, but you know, by a couple feet either direction, it just doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
this is a good solution.
Mhm. I have no problems.
Very good, very good. I would prefer to get 5 feet, but if
No, they really can't fit it.
the yard just doesn't,
Yeah.
doesn't work for that, so. Alrighty. That being said, let's seek a motion and see how we can help these people.
Richard, why don't you make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the variance for variance ZB 2025-068 for 78 Garfield Street to allow for the side and rear setback. Granting of the variance is not contrary to the public interest. Granting of the variance certainly does meet the spirit of the ordinance for relief from existing conditions. Granting the variance does do substantial justice as the building is being improved. And granting of the variance, there's no evidence of positive or negative property values. Hardship, they want to improve the building and they're seeking a less non-conforming way to be able to do so. I'm complete.
I'll second.
Thank you, Marcia. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Good luck, Leesons. Okay, next on the agenda is 18 Cole Street, seeking a variance to allow encroachment into the front setback to construct a garage. Mr. Labrie, how are you?
Hello. Well, how are you? I have some very old photos that weren't submitted with So, we just purchased this property. At this time, on the front of the property is a two-car garage. It has a non-conforming driveway. The driveway is 17 and a half feet. The garage is such that you can't fit any cars in it unless, well, maybe a Mini Cooper. We can't go back with the garage because there's a pool, an in-ground pool, as you can see.
Mhm.
So what I would propose to do is there's also a lean-to on the right side of the garage as you're looking at the front of the house, which is kind of ugly. What I propose to do is have that torn down and build a 24 by 24 garage. But it would need to extend 6 feet closer to the roadway than what the existing house is now. Also, as you can see where it's penciled in, drawn in there, would be blacktop where we can pull in off of Cole Street, pull into the garage, and when exiting, we can back up into that hammerhead portion and be able to drive out. So right now, even in the summertime, without almost touching the garage door, the rear end of any of our vehicles are out into Cole Street. Actually, it's Lane Court, and Lane Court is a private road, which we own both sides of it. So there wouldn't be any issue with, with the driveway moved down there, there's no issue with trying to make a swing in.
Mhm.
Now, if this were a side setback, there wouldn't be an issue. I'd be within the setbacks. But unfortunately, because of the situation of the house, there are 3 front setbacks.
But for the garage, isn't it really only Lane Road that's really in
Lane Court.
question here?
Lane Court, yes.
Lane Court,
Yep.
yeah. And is there anybody living on Lane Court other than you?
There is there's a recovery home at the end. There is another house that actually has a driveway. Yeah, it's considered their driveway, also off the end of Lane Court. They don't use it, they use the entrance to their house off of Prospect, thank you.
So in this diagram, is this where you're planning on building the garage in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you see the garage is, one wall of the garage would be adjacent to the house. The other wall would be adjacent to the pool. And then the rest of that is asphalt.
Okay, that's driveway.
Yeah.
Got it.
Tom, have you considered building a separate garage off the house, like over where the picnic table is by the pool, it looks like? A little white table there?
I have, but the house is built in 1870. And I'd like to be able to keep with the styling of the house. And I just feel aesthetically, I couldn't do that with a separate garage.
Because you got a nice big lot there. You really want it touching the house, the garage, huh?
Yeah, I think because I haven't had the plans drawn up yet, because I want to make sure that I can get permission to do so. But the guy that's going to build the house is going to style it as though it is part of the original house. So it looks like it doesn't, I'm trying not to make it look like it's pieced together. I want something that looks like it belongs there.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Labrie?
No.
Okay, Tom, have a seat, and I'll ask if there's any members of the public that would like to come and speak about this property. Please seize the opportunity. No takers being said, I will close the public hearing and discussion amongst the board.
I have no problem with it.
There's not much traffic there. I hate to see buildings getting closer to the road.
But the offset to that is right now, the rear end of his vehicles are actually on the road right now.
Right.
I mean,
That's
his
true.
dimension, I mean, the GIS doesn't necessarily give the dimension, but it's basically that.
He has I think he said 17-foot driveway now.
Well, he may have a 17-foot driveway, but that is on that's on the private road property, which
Right.
he has ownership in. Anyway, regardless, this makes it so he's driving in from the end and it gets the vehicles off the property. I mean, it makes for a longer building, but all that said, I think I think it's a very reasonable use. I'm in favor.
Very good.
And it's also on I think it's a dead-end street with
Yeah, there's,
hardly anybody living there.
well, there's a deeded right-of-way to two other homes at the end, and as he stated, one of the homes gets access from a
The
different
other-
road.
So it's not like we're gonna cause a congestion
No,
problem
no,
here by
no.
doing this.
Actually, I would argue that
It's
it will
better.
alleviate congestion,
Right,
especially for plowing in the wintertime, so now they don't have to make that
Right.
cut for the
Yep.
parking for the
Yep.
garage that's there now.
Yep.
No, I think that this is a great idea.
I'm in favor.
Very good.
Yep.
I'll seek a motion from somebody, and we'll get Mr. Labrie on his way.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve application number ZB 2025-069 from Article 6, Section 235-35A, actually as specified by Mr. Labrie on his application.
Thank you, Jane. We have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? I will abstain.
Oh, I forgot, did I raise my hand?
Yeah, you
Yes,
did.
okay.
posthumously.
Okay.
Motion passes. Good luck, Tom. Make a nice building, please.
Posthumously?
Posthumously.
It's a pretty house.
Alrighty.
Right, so now,
I think we have a big crew waiting for the next item.
the attorney's out
And if the lawyer's not here in time?
I think they're asking for 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Let's take a quick break, folks, if you want to use the bathroom or enjoy some of our lovely water out of the fountain. And there is a dispenser in the corner. We'll close this meeting for 5 or 7 minutes.
Okay.
he was gonna be working with the other town,
Right
get
down.
to a happy medium.
White Oak Road.
Let's see, oh, I can't think of the other attorney's name now. That used to be Steve Laurent's partner. Yeah, so I'm anxious to hear what he has to say, where they supposedly tried to do something.
You're such a sociopath.
We'll make a good argument then.
All righty.
Where are you going, Marcia?
No. I'm just complaining to my Ward 3 city council
I
person.
thanked him because he's trying to slow down the traffic in our neighborhood. But right now, they're kind of getting used to speeding up
Been,
when they see the sign.
We're getting quite a few calls and emails about that. People are all fired up.
If it goes to the city council, we'll have a representation.
Okay, we're gonna reopen the zoning board of adjustment meeting. Mr. Cronin has arrived. Hello, folks. Glad you made it.
Thank you,
I'd like,
Chair.
before we get in chair,
Yep.
I would like to recuse myself from this portion of the meeting.
You're allowed.
Thank you.
Because he lives there.
Because you live there, it shouldn't be.
He feels he's not gonna make the right judgment.
Okay, Mr. Cronin, I'm sorry for the jibber jabber. Go ahead, please.
No problem. First off, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board and staff who accommodated my request. I had a scheduling conflict, so I hustled up as quick as I could from Hooksett. So I appreciate you putting us on the back of the agenda. I know some folks that are here are not too happy. I got some critical comments coming in the door, but I asked people not to lose sight of the fact that we've been here twice before, prepared to go. And the last time we consented to a continuance at the request of the abutters due to, I think, their attorney's late involvement. So for any inconvenience I created for any of the folks here, I apologize for that. I did my best to be here, but I'll focus on the application before you. I think in prior occasions we've run through it in some detail and presented. I know we came one point to a conceptual hearing, but this property, as you know, is located on White Oaks. It's a beautiful parcel of land. It has an older home there that will be raised in conjunction with this project. What we're seeking are two variances, one for use and one for density. Although this is abutted to the lakeside by a multi-unit building, like condo-type community, multi-units is on the abutting side of it. This particular zone does not allow the duplexes that we proposed without a variance. So we're seeking 12 buildings, 24 total units of duplex housing, consistent, I believe, with the Housing Committee for the State of New Hampshire and the good work the legislature has been doing. Certainly consistent with the master plan to provide diverse types of housing. This is laid out with a lot of care. Both Pete and Tony, who are here, who've done a lot of work throughout the community. Now they're doing another project on White Oaks now, and I think they've done everything that they've said and more, and it looks really nice. It's kind of got a Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard type layout and feel to it. There were some opportunities for discussion with a few of the abutters, not all of them, certainly, and unfortunately, Attorney Philpott has not been as available as he typically is through, I think, some health issues, and we regret that, having a long history of working with him and consider him to be a good friend. But our goal in all of these projects is to do what we can to accommodate the reasonable requests of the abutters. One of the concerns that was raised in the process related to drainage, which the board knows under New Hampshire law, when you're doing a development, you can't alter the natural progression of water drainage. And when you go to the planning board, you have to put a surface water and a drainage plan to prove that out. Typically, the community would hire a third-party engineer or have someone on the engineering staff that would review those calculations and confirm that, in fact, they do meet the requirements. But notwithstanding, we believe it meets it. The applicants are prepared and willing to build a berm so that really minimizes any risk of any water flowing off. They've also spoken about building a fence to provide some privacy for some of the abutters. When you look at the spirit and intent of the ordinance, and this is in a split zone, as we've talked about in the past, two different sections, both the front and the back, that typically when you're looking at the spirit and intent of the ordinance prongs, you're looking if this variance, if approved, will it alter the essential character of the neighborhood? When you look at that neighborhood, it's pretty diverse, you know, starting from the Wares and moving back towards the project that they're doing now. You have some beautiful single-family homes. You have a new, it looks like, cluster development that's being built out there, which seems like it's progressing well. You have the biker club. You have the conservation area, the hiking area. So there's a lot of different uses in there, but has a residential feel. This particular project, although somewhat unique, being duplex, it does provide a diversified housing opportunity, something that's not readily available in other parts of town, but it looks like beautiful single-family homes. So that's what we would propose. We're not looking to put the pig farm next to the homes or a house next to the industrial warehouse. It's residential to residential. When we talk about the value prong, which is generally every person's concern when they have development coming to their neighborhood, and I don't blame them for having those concerns. You know, if anyone had an empty lot beside them or something that would be developed, it's natural to say, what's the impact going to be to me? We asked Mark McKeon, who's a licensed appraiser, to take a look at the plans, to tour the property, to take a look at the surrounding properties, and give us a determination as to whether or not, in his opinion of many, many years, whether the variances, if approved and the project built out as planned, would it impair the value of surrounding properties. That letter should be in your file, and his conclusion, no, that it would not, and it would likely enhance the surrounding neighborhood. When you look at the other criteria that you look at in terms of substantial justice, they've always said that that's a subjective prong, hard to measure, really no objective test like 1 and 1 equals 2 to figure that out. But it's a balancing act, basically. What's the harm to the applicant if this is denied versus what's the harm to the public at large, not to the neighbors, right? The neighbors are addressed in the value prong, but the public at large. The harm to the developers is this particular property lends itself, being 10 acres, to the more intense development that would be allowed under normal circumstances. I think when this ordinance was crafted, there'd be some thought that you're on septic as opposed to sewer and various things, but this wastewater can be managed well with no negative impact to anyone. In terms of the balancing test to the community, you get a beautiful development that has great curb appeal and aesthetics. No doubt that it brings additional people to the neighborhood, but any of the allowed uses that are there, including a campground, which is allowed by special exception, would have a much more detrimental impact on the community. So if you look at the table of uses and you think of that old adage, be careful what you wish for, it's unusual that you would get somebody to build a development of this nature, style, and value in this particular neighborhood. But I think all things considered, we satisfy the balancing tests. Looking at the hardship, if you talk about a fair and substantial relationship of the ordinance to this particular property, when you look at it, when the zoning ordinance was drafted, it was before a lot of the changes that were done out there. You look at cluster on one side of the road and not the other. You also take a look at the multifamily condos that are abutting the lot. That would be a violation on its face of the ordinance as it applied to this? We think not. And then the next test would be whether or not the proposed use is a reasonable one. For all of those things mentioned, we'd ask you to look favorably on the application. We are receptive to a condition of approval that a berm be included in the plan set to go to the planning board. We will also be willing to put up a fence and enhance some landscaping. I'm sure we'll hear from some of the abutters and the neighbors, and any reasonable requests that they have, we're willing to listen to it, and are probably likely to accept a condition of approval that becomes a reality and not just a hope. So thank you for, again, giving me the delay and giving me an opportunity to present this evening.
Thank you, Attorney Cronin.
Thank you.
The development is septic, is that correct?
This development, no, it's going to be on sewer.
City sewer.
I think initially when the ordinance was crafted that the contemplation was it probably would be on septic.
I heard you mention septic, and you threw me for a loop there. Is there city water there also?
No, it's a well. Not yet.
Wells.
I see there's 75-foot buffer from the road, and it's open pasture right now. What else, what would you buffer with?
I'm gonna ask Pete to come up here for a minute. I know the stone wall was a topic of conversation that will remain.
So the stone wall is gonna remain, we're gonna
Absolutely.
leave that 75 feet of buffer, we're gonna put some taller trees, some bushes, kinda mask the houses that we're putting into the back, so you just see like the road going in, create more of a wooded parcel.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? You see, we have a large audience tonight, so I'll ask you to take a seat. After they all speak, just make notes and you could address their concerns when
Absolutely.
you're done, okay?
Thank you.
You also have this letter too that came in, that has to be
Yeah.
acknowledged.
Yeah.
We do have a letter from, who is that?
Susanna Dean Ingram.
The
Susanna
Ingrams.
Dean Ingram.
That's the blue paper, is that this white
Well,
one
it's
also?
also the letter.
Right, here, right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we do have a letter from the Ingrams from 188 White Oaks Road that are opposed to this project. So that being said, I'll ask any neighbors, one at a time, please come up and give your comments.
I'm Suzanne Ingram. This is my husband, Dean.
Oh, the Ingrams are here. Welcome,
My
folks.
intention was to just give you a copy. I plan to present it. We are opposed to granting a zoning variance at 238 White Oaks Road. We object for the same reasons that we described in our letter of December 12th, 2024 to the zoning board, and for the same reasons that we stated at the May 19th, 2025 zoning board meeting. But instead of rehashing our same concerns about water runoff, density, privacy, security, noise pollution, vehicle traffic, and the fact that shoehorning a cluster community of 24 dwellings into our neighborhood of single-family homes would not be compatible and will definitely decrease our real estate values. Instead of repeating all of that, I'd like to throw out a word, and that word is intent. 20 years ago, when we purchased our house at 188 White Oaks Road, our intent was to make it our home. Not a hotel, or a motel, or apartments, or townhouses, or condominiums, or an Airbnb, just our forever home. When our neighbors purchased their houses that they live in, I think they had a similar intent, simply to make the house their home, perhaps their forever home too. As far as I know, Suzanne and I have always complied with the city regulations, and I think our neighbors have also. We don't ask much from the city. We do use the municipal septic system, and we appreciate having our trash picked up once a week. But other than that, we just pay our taxes and try to be good citizens. We don't have city water. We don't have fire hydrants. We don't have a traffic light. We don't even have a sidewalk. But that's okay. And why? Because we knew exactly what we were buying before we bought it. When a developer considers buying a property, he should understand exactly what he's buying before he buys it too. Land development is a business, and a business has to make a profit and not make mistakes. That's why developers will often rely on a team of consultants and specialists to assist them. As Steve Jobs once said, you can't know everything, so you should always hire people who are smarter than you. In the business of land development, that might include experts like home inspectors, appraisers, hazardous substance inspectors, land surveyors, engineers, architects, and lawyers. Whether a developer chooses to rely on experts or not, before a developer buys anything, he has to make sure that the real estate in question will suit his intent. And there's that word again, intent. So we have a question, a simple question. Perhaps you've been wondering about this too. If a developer, any developer, is intent on building and selling 24 dwellings, why then would that same developer buy a piece of real estate situated in a rural area that is zoned for a maximum of 4 or 5 homes? Why? And here's another question. If a zoning variance is an exception to the rule that should only be granted in rare situations, and if in order to obtain a variance, the owner must prove that the regulation does somehow not apply to him because it's creating an unreasonable hardship for him. Exactly what is Skyview Acres LLC's hardship? Does the possibility of not generating the intended profit qualify as a hardship that would justify your waiving the zoning regulations for him? In conclusion, White Oaks Road is not waterfront, and there are no views to speak of. The only thing that makes White Oak Road appealing at all is that it's rural. Laconia's zoning regulations already allow for reasonable growth within rurally zoned areas. So developers need to adhere to the regulations and not bank on getting a variance to make their business plan work. At the May 19th meeting, 10 Laconia residents stood up and spoke against granting this variance. Not one Laconia resident spoke up in favor of it. Please, just say no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Ingram. Well spoken. You have some cheerleaders. Anybody else would like to make some statements? Please come up.
Hi, Joanne Bonacorsi. I live on White Oaks Road. First of all, he did a fantastic job. There is no way I'm going to outdo that. But I'm a common person with common sense, and I have things I need to say. First of all, you had 30 days to be here on time, and you still couldn't produce that. Shame on you, you're an attorney. It's wasting committee's time and taxpayers' time. Second of all, I think the attorney said it perfectly, I'll give you credit, that it is a beautiful piece of land. And they're going to buy it and put in houses, condos, whatever they want to pick at the time that the board will approve of. Should not happen. That is a beautiful piece of land with a home that's 120 years old. That house deserves to be maintained, to be refurbished as a historic piece of land that we're losing in Laconia daily. Refurbish it. Make it a B&B. Whatever. But we don't need any more condos or homes, development. That's a quiet RR2 road. We're losing the fact that it is a rural road. We're losing that fact. This is a big town, and you can't tell me that there are not other places they can build, because I know there is. And it's a shame that you take one of the 3 roads that are left, and you're going to blow it out with what, more houses, condos, whatever they feel they need to do. We are asking you, as taxpayers of this road, that you please say no to this. We have enough going on now. I used to be able to walk on that road. Just by the condos going up and the new homes, I know I'm not going to be able to walk on that road anymore because the traffic is getting heavier and heavier and more dangerous for people to walk without jumping in the ditch and hurting themselves. Please, think about this. Think about the taxpayers. Think about the people on this beautiful, quiet road. We want to leave it that way. There are other places. Let them choose another place. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Burnquist. Who else would like to speak? Come on, some of you clappers could come up. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Alex Borden, and I'm at 209 White Oaks Road. And aside from that, I also have a letter from our neighbors at 201 White Oaks Road, the Greenwoods, that I'd like to read. So it says, to the members of the zoning board, good evening. We are the Greenwoods, owners of 201 White Oaks Road, located directly across from the site of the proposed project. We purchased our home in 2021, excited to leave downtown Laconia after many years enjoying this quiet, rural neighborhood. Since then, we've noticed a steady increase in development and traffic along the road, changes that have begun to erode the character of the RR2 zoning district we were so drawn to when we moved here. As defined in the Residential Rural Corridor District, it is intended to recognize the historic, scenic, and agricultural values of the area. While we fully support responsible growth and development in our city, indeed both of our careers thrive on new construction in the Lakes region, we also believe it is critical to uphold existing laws and zoning ordinances. Making exceptions for one project sets a precedent that opens the door to many others, which can fundamentally change the nature of our community. We risk transforming our rural neighborhood into something more akin to Weirs Boulevard. To ensure Laconia remains a beautiful and livable city on the lakes, we must prioritize housing that meets the need of full-time residents and working families. Our city needs homes that support the people who live and work here year-round, not more seasonal or part-time condos. As neighbors, we're not opposed to the development of this beautiful 10-acre field. We simply ask that any future projects adhere to the current rules, regulations, and ordinances. This parcel could easily support a few thoughtfully designed homes with little to no need for variances. We respectfully ask that you consider the perspectives of those who live around this property when making your decision regarding the requested variance. Thank you for your time and attention. Sincerely, the Greenwoods. Would you like to copy this? A copy? I don't have another
Yeah.
copy, but would you like to copy this?
Thank you, Ms. Barton.
Yes, well, I'd also like to add that I agree
Please.
with everything that he has said. And, I mean, I grew up there. I lived there my whole life. And I think this would completely ruin the neighborhood, add traffic and hardship to the people that already live there in more ways than one. It is, as others have also said, it is a beautiful piece of land, and the house is historic, and it should remain as such. It would be a shame to destroy that for greed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Barton is finished. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and talk? Hello.
Hello. I'm Julie Worth. I am on 191 White Oaks Road. I also spoke in the May meeting, and I'm asking the board to please deny this because we appreciate the rural road. We do understand that there needs to be growth, but it needs to be modest and in relation to the neighborhood, and we're requesting that continue because we really appreciate where we're living and hope to be there a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Worth. Hello, sir.
It's not my favorite thing to do.
Well, we're glad you're here.
This is, my name's Glenn Joyce. This is my wife, Margot. I actually grew up on White Oaks Road, and 33 or 34 years ago, we built our house on White Oaks Road. 252, we're basically the northern abutter to
To the development.
238.
Yeah.
We bought our house, we abided by the zoning. RR1 and RR2 zoning has been in place at least that long. And the commercial residential zoning was behind us at least that long. So nothing has really changed from a zoning perspective. I think if you're gonna change land use, you should probably go on a bigger scale and start changing the zoning and stop granting variances in these type of situations. I believe plenty of people here are against it. I think Dean did an excellent job. He told me he wasn't a very good public speaker, but he did pretty good. I believe the public is against it, and that changes the neighborhood. As I know there's all the bullet points, I'm not really that familiar with the lawyer speak, but granting a variance, not being contrary to the spirit of the ordinance, the neighborhood will be altered. I've lived next to
two neighbors for 33 years. Mrs. Tuart died at the ripe old age of 100 years old, I believe she made it in that house. And now they're planning on putting 4 duplexes down my lot line. That's eight families, and another couple in the back or whatnot. So I believe that changes the nature of the neighborhood. As far as property values, that's all an opinion of anybody. I don't really believe you can make a statement that it's going to improve the property values. You probably can't really make a statement that that'll not prove for the property values. Substantial justice. I don't think there is. I think there is an injustice. An injustice to the Tuarts. They believe they probably could have only sold that land for 4, maybe 5 houses. I don't believe there's an injustice to Mr. Grenier. I mean, he brought the house. He knew what the zoning was.
And we're not against following the zoning and putting the 5 houses up as long as they do the same distance as what we had to adapt our house to.
Setbacks, I don't believe we need this housing. I mean, there's 200 or so houses going up in Langley Cove, if I'm correct. There's another 40 or so going up down the street, Lady of the Lakes. I think it's what, 44, 48 or so. There's quite a few. There's been a boatload of traffic. I agree with the pedestrian issues on White Oaks Road is definitely becoming an issue.
We have no sidewalks.
Nobody travels 35 miles an hour, except maybe me, and everybody piles up behind me. There's development on Laconia Road. There's 2,000 proposed things going up at the old state school. Also like to wonder what type of water system's gonna go in. We have city sewer, we have for a very long time, but there is no water. Are we gonna drill 12 wells, maybe 1 well, 24 wells? I really don't know what the plan is for that. I am kind of concerned about my well, if I'd have to drill another one and go a little deeper. Wildlife, that's probably going to become non-existent. There's plenty of deer that go through the backyard occasionally. They probably jump over the fence by Dean's house. We got a bobcat out there this spring. It's just really just changing the rural character of White Oaks Road, and it seems to be coming really fast and furious, and I'm against that.
I'm just wondering who protects our rights. When we bought there for a reason. We bought there to be in a rural area, to stay in a rural area. And we have conformed to that. And we would like to see everybody around us do the same, or have the same opportunity. 24 houses is not giving us what we bought into and what we have paid for all these years. And I think that the people on White Oaks Road who are individual homeowners should have some rights to protection for what we chose to do and pay for all these years. And we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Tracy. Hello.
Hi. I'm Alicia Emery. I live at 181 White Oaks Road, and my mom lives at 235, which is directly across from this project. She can't be here due to her age and health issues, but we are obviously opposed to the project. Without any variance, they could construct 5 homes in the field. They're asking for 12 duplex buildings for a total of 24 units, which is way beyond reasonable. I understand that you come to ask for a variance for, changes that do come up, but this is just totally out of
it's just out of line with everything. After the first meeting, the lawyer said they would talk to the neighbors and come up with something that maybe that they could work out. This never happened. They came to the second meeting with the exact same plan with no changes. So how is anybody really interested in the neighbors and working with people? As far as hardship, I don't see how there's any hardship for them with this variance. If they don't get this variance, they knew what they were buying. They knew exactly what the zoning was. You know, they have an option. If they don't get what they want, they can walk away and sell, but it's not a hardship if they can't build 24 units where anybody else would be building 5. And we're losing the whole rural aspect of White Oaks Road. It's changing all the time, and we, like Dean said it from the beginning and everybody else has said, we chose to live there instead of living or buying a house downtown. We paid accordingly to live in this area, and why is it that we don't have any say now? And I also feel that if a variance is given now, there are a lot of older people on that road, and as they go to sell their homes, if say they got 5 acres or 4 acres, you know, if somebody wants to come in and take down their old home and do whatever with the 4 acres, the precedent is set that they could do this on 10 acres. What can they do with 4, and so on down the road? And I feel like the whole road will change forever. So just hope that you will consider that in making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emery. Ms. Emery, is your mom's last name Emery also?
Yeah, Gail Emery.
Okay.
We have another one.
Yes, young man, come on up.
Hi, my name is Colby Batchelder. I also live at 181 White Oaks Road. So it's my understanding that to obtain a variance, an applicant must satisfy 5 factors and all 5 factors. First one I have is the variance must not be contrary to public interest. I believe, given the amount of people here that are speaking, it's clearly contrary to public interest. Going into the more legal aspect of it, it alters the essential character of the neighborhood. It adds traffic to the road, which already has a lot of traffic. As many people have said, you can't really walk on the road due to this. Will add noise to a relatively quiet neighborhood. You know, there's going to be 24 units going in. There's going to be more noise. As far as hardship goes, there's not really going to be any hardship. Mr. Dion and Mr. Grenier bought this property knowing how it was a RR1, RR2 property. It is residence to residence if this is put in, but it will not be rural to rural as it currently is. In fact, the original plan, when they bought the property, was to stay at least close to the ordinance, if not within the ordinance, by, quote, total restoration of the house using historical data and a barn dominium in the field that could accommodate roughly 6 units. Overall, the look would present itself as a horse farm with appropriate fencing and the back side of the garage built to mimic horse stables or paddock. This is what was communicated to the real estate agent that facilitated the sale. Obviously, a horse farm, a barn, you know, that's pretty rural. I would say Nantucket style 24 unit development is not quite as rural as that. Perhaps if Mr. Cronin walked in here and presented that, and perhaps with a little bit more improved scheduling, maybe there wouldn't be so much opposition to this, but instead, Mr. Grenier and Mr. Dion plan to proceed with a plan that would line their pockets as thick as possible and go against the complete structure of the neighborhood. They spent enough time in the house prior to the sale to get a good handle on the health of the structure, and they seem to be in fine spirits about the renovation. They either didn't have a good handle on, you know, the structure of a house, or they had no plans to renovate it, had plans to take it down the whole time and put it in a 24 unit community. I can't speak to that. They even asked for blueprints from the previous owners, and said they would work with historical architects to shape the contours of the project. So there's not really a hardship present if they had prior plans to stay at least close to the ordinance and can easily shift to something that they already had planned. As I said before, the variance is not consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. Again, a 24 unit community is not rural. If they say there's a large development on that is an abutting side, but it is on a different road that has a very different feel than White Oaks Road. It is not a rural road, has a very condo feel that is on the lake, which White Oaks is not. Substantial justice. There hasn't really been any loss that I, again, have seen. They can shift back to a plan that stays within the ordinance or at least close to it. It's destructive to the neighborhood. And as far as property values go, I trust that the appraiser who they consulted did an accurate job given his experience. But according to the NH Municipality Association, zoning boards are to consider not only expert testimony from realtors and our appraisers, but also the residents in the affected neighborhood. I believe from the people you've heard tonight, people feel that their property value would be diminished if this were to be developed, that people coming in, if they're going to be living right next to a 24 unit development, they might not want to live on White Oaks Road. They might look for a different area to live. At the first meeting, Mr. Cronin said, give us an opportunity to talk to the abutters and see if we can address some of their concerns. Again, as Alicia Emery just spoke, her mother lives directly across the street. No communication has been given to her to address any of her concerns or any of the neighbors' concerns, at least that I have heard of. It seems that Mr. Grenny and Mr. Dion don't really care about addressing any of these concerns, and they instead want to just charge ahead with their full 24 units. If Mr. Cronin is willing to maybe table this for a third time for repeat, he can maybe this time actually address out to some of the abutters, some of the neighbors, to maybe get this to something more digestible for the neighbors. But as a 24 unit, I just don't see how this can pass, given that, in my personal opinion, I don't think it really passes any of the 5 factors fully. So with that, I ask you to deny this request for a variance, as I don't think it meets really anything.
Well spoken, young fellow.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Okay. Hello, ma'am.
Hello. My name is Francine Ray. I live at 209 White Oaks Road. Been there for 40-plus years. That was my daughter that spoke earlier. I don't have anything that I can add more to what's already been said, just to state that I am totally against this. I live right across the street from the proposed development. There is no way that that couldn't have a negative impact. What I'm looking at now is a beautiful field with birds and turkeys and deer, and I don't care what kind of landscaping they put or buffers or trees. The added traffic, the danger on the walking on the roads, which I used to do and I haven't been doing lately. I don't see that there's a hardship, but I agree with everything that's been said already. I don't really have anything to add to it. Just wanted to add my vote against.
Thank you, Ms. Gray.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Last chance, folks. Anybody else? We'll give Mr. Cronin a chance to address some of your concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Took some notes. I really don't want to belabor the timeliness of my arrival and our efforts to work with the abutters. Attorney Philpott represented that he was representing a number of the abutters. Numerous efforts were made to reach him to his office with no response. Who exactly he represents, I'm not sure, and I give him a pass. because of his issues. But we did have occasion at the last continuance to talk to some of the abutters outside and expressed an interest in getting together with them. That didn't happen. I think it's really unfair to blame it on Mr. Dion and Mr. Grenier. I'm used to taking the heat, so not a big deal. But valid efforts were made, and they continued it for 2 additional times to have an opportunity to meet with folks, and again, that didn't happen. Traffic issues, right? When you have a public road on a development, that's a planning board issue. Typically, when you would go to a planning board, they would want some confirmation of the traffic and a traffic study or some verification that the volume of the traffic was sufficient for the roadway. If it wasn't, the planning board always has the power to deny a plan, modify it, reduce density, so on and so forth. Water, under riparian rights, everybody has an equal right to the groundwater for reasonable use. You could drill some wells there now without any land use approvals to use it, for personal use. You couldn't do it for commercial use, but you could use it for landscaping. You could use it for your own personal use. The actual water system has not been specifically defined and would be something that would be done in the planning preparation. There is enough capacity there to drill individual wells, and there also could be a community water system, which would likely entail 2 wells that would be regulated and approved by the state. So you would have to meet their standards, not only for construction, but for monitoring and maintenance if a community water system were to be approved. Under the law prior to the trilogy of Boccia, Gray Rocks, and Simplex, there was a standard that said if you could do something else with the land, you wouldn't be entitled to get a variance. For example, the woman that wanted to have a B&B, which usually market-driven, most of the public had an opportunity to purchase this property and do with it what they wanted or what they pleased. But having an alternative use is no longer a relevant factor for a variance inquiry. That would apply to the B&B. It would also apply to the bobcat and the birds and that sort of thing. That's not a relevant factor for consideration. When you look at that standard in terms of the Boccia and leading to the Simplex case, Justice Horton there wrote a lengthy piece on that, talking about to meet constitutional muster that recognizes the constitutional right to use and enjoy property, zoning ordinances must have a relief valve built into them, either by variance or special exception. So every variance in this state is part of a zoning ordinance. It's something that's provided, and the argument that you should just live by the ordinance is not something that's done anywhere in this state. Every community that I'm aware of, with the exception of a few way up north, have a zoning board of adjustment. And if everyone was going to live exactly by the ordinance, they would no need to have a zoning board or ZBA meetings. This property is large. It's 10 acres in size. The ones that are smaller would not have an opportunity to do something of this scope and size. If we're on the other side of the road, it would qualify for a cluster. We recognize that it's not, but the density and dimensions are similar in scale if it were a cluster development. There's also some arguments here that some folks speak for the community and the community at large. The last time I checked, I think there's approximately 17,000 people in the city, and we have a handful of folks tonight, mostly being the abutters. I haven't heard anyone outside the immediate neighborhood. And that's not the test on most of these criteria. The valuation test is, and to my knowledge, no one else has submitted any valuation opinions from an expert. You've heard the evidence from us over a couple of different meetings and the import of the abutters. As I said initially, we're receptive to any conditions. I know, Mr. Chair, you mentioned the front buffer. If there was a certain scale of buffering or trees or privacy that was wanted, we would be receptive to a condition of that nature, any other reasonable condition that the board members felt were appropriate. There's no intent here to harm any of the abutters' properties. Legally, they can't send runoff to other properties. They have to maintain it and control it. So all of the factors you've heard, we ask that you approve the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that being said, I will close the public comment.
Should we address that there's only 4 of us now?
He needs to know that because he doesn't have a full board, that he has to get 3 votes, right? He has to get 3
Right,
votes
if
in the
it's a tie
affirmative,
vote,
or
it's
he can
no.
wait till he won't,
Yeah.
he'll never get 5,
To address
because
that.
he will recuse himself every single time, again, so.
There is another applicant who has applied to go onto the zoning board. I
Okay.
believe that they are waiting for a subcommittee to meet to interview them before they are appointed. The timeline on that, I do not know.
Okay.
I can inquire with the city manager's office and find out what the status of that is.
Right, so I think Mr. Cronin needs to know
Right.
that.
Mr. Cronin, since one of the members have recused himself tonight, there's only 4 of us. If it's a tie vote, it,
He has to have
motion
3.
fails. So, I don't wanna make all these people come back again, but you do have the option of waiting to get it, there's another alternate for the zoning board coming on board after next month. So you do have that option.
Would you just give me a moment to explain? I'm more concerned about the Fisher issue of bringing another application back, where generally if you're not approved, you can't bring it back again for review. Sometimes when I've had a 4 board, it said, we'll go forward, but we want the right to come back without prejudice. So I don't know if you'd entertain that or not, but I should explain it to Tony and Pete so they understand the significance of it.
Certainly, take your time.
Yeah, thanks. It won't be long.
I'm not sure I understood him coming back without prejudice. He would be coming back waiting for a full board?
If you deny the application in its present form, they could not come back
Correct.
with the exact same application.
Right.
So it would have to be something different, and
Exactly.
that's what they're discussing.
Like if they came back with
Like-
10 units instead of,
Like if the
4.
board was so to deny it, as opposed to tabling it, waiting for another member, what are the
Okay, so
scenarios?
he would come back with something totally different.
They would have to come back with something somewhat different. Could not be the
It has
exact.
to be substantially different. I think that's the term.
And I think it would be,
Substantially
what would be a substantial definition to,
What is substantial? Okay.
you can't just change the color and call it substantial.
Well, I didn't think 15 Morris Ave was a substantial change, so I was kind of surprised they came back. Except they went from 2-family to single-family,
and they reduced their height.
and they reduced the height.
And I think there was a couple other variances that they did not.
Only because
Did he not
he
say there wouldn't
combined,
be a rooftop platform?
because he combined the lots, allowed for that, I know. So anyway, so this will be curious.
It seems,
I
I'm pro-development, but the opposition of the neighbors
Yeah. should
is
cons-
weighs heavy on me.
It should. It should.
I had a chance to chat with them and just explain the 3-4 versus the 3-5, and where there's no 5th in sight, or we don't know what that timeline is. We're willing to go forward this evening. Everybody's presented their case. I think the abutters have presented theirs. Probably not going to change all that much if we continue it.
Very good,
Thank
thank you. Once again, I'm pro-development, development is coming, you're not gonna stop it, but the opposition and Mr. Ingram's letter with the intent weighs heavy on me. It's not really a hardship if we denied them tonight. Might be a hardship to the owner of the property, but like the neighbors say, there's a better use for the property, and I tend to agree.
Eric?
I think, earlier tonight, we saw some examples of why we have variances, and I think this is an example of why we have zoning, right? I mean, I think it's really hard to make the argument that this development doesn't substantially change the character of that neighborhood. I know we need housing, our housing inventory is low, but there's been a lot of discussion about where do we increase density? What areas of the city does increased density belong in, and how do we preserve the character of neighborhoods? How do we preserve green space? I think if we're gonna increase density, I don't think you take a rural zone and you start increasing density there. I think there's other places in the city that are more appropriate for increased housing density.
Well said. Jane?
I tend to agree with Eric.
Okay.
I also want to point out that in a recent survey from UNH, the housing was the #1 issue they decided for the state. But the majority of people do not want to see their zoning laws relaxed just to meet that need. And I think it's important, if the city of Laconia wants to maintain a rural environment, and that's what this is, we need to do that. And I am strongly opposed to this, because I think once the camel's nose gets under the tent, he wants all the way in, and I'm firmly opposed.
Camel's nose under the tent.
The camel's nose under the tent. So I am a no.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
I've heard
Alrighty.
that before.
I will be a no, so.
Let's make a motion.
I make a motion to deny application ZB 2025056 for White Oaks Road from, they have requested a variance from Article 5, Section 235-78. And the rationale is, first of all, when we look at criteria number 1, which talks about altering the character of the neighborhood, I believe, and the neighbors believe, that putting in a cluster development alters severely the rural nature of that neighborhood. Cluster development may be for residential use, but it is very different than single residential neighborhood. And if it's going to alter the character of the neighborhood, then it is not meeting the spirit of the ordinance, which is to maintain the ordinance wants that area to be defined as historic, scenic, open space, and agricultural. And cluster development does not do that. Criteria number 3, substantial justice is done. There isn't really a loss here to the individual. There is a loss to the city of Laconia. There is a loss to the residents by losing that rural environment, that rural open space. So I don't think it meets criteria number 3. Number 4, value of surrounding properties. I can see where it might be increase the value for some people, but for other people who want a rural nature, it might decrease it. I have no way of determining pro or con with number 4. Number 5, literal enforcement of the provisions would result in undue hardship. The developer has an opportunity to develop that land, but he needs to put in single-family residential with the density requirements that exist, so there is no hardship for that property. And I just want to say that once that open land is developed, it does not return. So for that reason, those are my reasons for denying the application.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Eric. Any further discussion? All in favor of Marcia's motion? I'll want to thank all the people from White Oaks for staying to give them a chance to present their presentation. Sorry for the delay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Come back with another plan, Mr. Cronin, and we'll see if we can help you.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Moving right along on our agenda.
Yep, we have some elections to do, and we have,
You all can stay, you don't have to leave now.
I do, I have to be at work at 5:30 in the morning.
God bless you. Somebody has to make the donuts. Richard,
Yes.
you can still, if you recruit yourself, you can still speak as a resident, pro or con. I just,
You gotta come up
I
to
don't
the
know how you
podium.
felt on this, but, you know, you have every right to come up and
I know.
still speak.
I know. I was aware of that.
Okay.
Nothing substantial.
How
to
did
add.
you feel?
I would have voted no.
Thank you.
That's what we did.
Okay.
In case
Hey,
you
is
missed
that,
that.
is that what just happened?
Just because
I
you're a
missed it.
neighbor, I don't think you have to recuse yourself.
Let
have
me
other
ask you,
reasons.
he keeps citing the
That's fine.
property
Whatever you
adjacent,
do.
isn't that
Whatever-
in the
that's
CR
fine. I'm
zone?
happy-
The,
Happy with that.
Mr. Cronin kept talking about that there was a cluster development. And I went,
I think you referenced a multifamily, and the multifamily was in the CR district. There are other cluster developments on White Oaks Road.
I know, but they're in a different district.
No, they're in the same district.
They're still in the
We
RR1 or
approved
R2?
one.
Cluster developments are allowed in the,
But none of them had to go to zoning. They all fit within the current requirements.
Oh,
the reason this one came is because they needed the variance for density.
Yes.
And they were, and because it was more than one, well, the only thing that's permitted in an R1 and R2 is single family, and they were doing duplex.
they were doing duplex, okay.
So if they keep that 75-foot setback, once they get out of the RR2 and they come into the RR1, then they can do it, the requirements are less in that area.
Yep, RR1 is very, very narrow.
Yeah, for sure, because just as you go down the whole, then it
Right.
becomes, is it CR down
The,
in
the corridor, is, I think,
The road.
400 feet is what that,
It's a
roll
funky,
this-
it's a funky zoning.
Yeah.
If you look at the map, if you
Yeah.
look at this map, well,
Yeah.
the one that you
we
see.
used to have a map there. We need to obviously get a map back, because
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people,
One
No,
that
it's,
never came back.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
They painted the wall?
they painted the walls and we lost the map.
Yeah, there you go.
Son of a
Anyway,
bitch.
Anyways, we obviously need a new map. I'll get one.
Get it back.
We'll work on that.
Bring it back.
Okay,
Okay, so
with that.
we have some other business to do.
Rules and procedures for zoning board of adjustment.
This lovely little document.
I think I have that. What
Oh,
document?
yeah, he sent it to you electronically.
It's not in the
Oh.
packet.
It's
but
not
I
in the
downloaded
packet, but he
online,
sent
but
You
I
have to
you
didn't-
open your email to
electronically.
see that.
You don't have email? Oh, my gosh.
He's so old.
Do you want us to table this and come back to it next month and we can print out?
No. Let me glimpse at what we,
What is the intent of the document? Or what is the intent of this item on the agenda?
Marcia brought it up.
Okay?
the rules and procedures. The chairman shall be elected annually, vice chair will be elected annually, secretary elected annually. We don't even have a secretary right now, if I'm correct.
We have
There's
Scott.
something in there about limiting people's comments to 3 minutes, which I think is a fantastic idea.
They do that at city council meetings.
Yeah.
Supposed to.
I'd like to let the people vent a little bit. I hate to say, oh, your time is up.
It'd be nice if they
We're nice
It
here.
says a
Focused on
suggestion.
the-
We're
a
nice here on the
suggestion.
zoning board.
2 to 3.
The
No.
public does not know well how to engage in public discourse. It's all about feelings and thinking as opposed to the details. It's hard, this day.
But anyway, there are rules and procedures that were in that, and I read them, and then as I read them, I noticed that there are some things that were out of alignment with the, when I attended the state planning board meetings. So I suggested to Rob that he include some of that stuff that is mentioned at the state level, so, like, he just filled it right in.
Well, you put it in, I just put it in red.
Exactly.
Do we at this board need to vote to adopt that? We just have,
Yes.
oh, okay,
Yeah, that's why it's on the agenda.
fair point.
This looks lovely.
I think you only added like
A few things.
4 things
Yeah.
as a maximum.
Right.
Just to stay up with the
the
current
state-
adopted
right.
practices that
Yep.
the state has outlined for the zoning boards.
Coffee
Well,
at
that's not a
five-
bad idea.
Coffee at 5 and, I'm being done.
So you want to
I make a
make
motion.
a
that
motion
we-
to
we
adopt these
adopt
rules and
the new
regulations?
rules and procedures.
What's
that are
different
presented.
than our rules and regulations now,
The
though?
stuff that's in red.
There's
Yeah.
nothing in red here.
Oh, I didn't print it off in red, but there are
So,
about 4 things.
under F, 1, under applications, it says we added a G, miscellaneous fees such as lawyer fees, et cetera, will be charged to the applicant.
That was missing. That's very important.
We suggested adding in the 2 to 3 minute timeline, and that was under public hearings 3, section H. We can add that in there if you would like.
Yeah.
And then under continuations, under decisions, A, the board will discuss all criteria and then vote on the application. They will not vote on the individual criteria. Some zoning boards around the state, as Marcia stated, boards will vote on the individual criteria going through. We, as a standard practice, have always voted on it after we've gone through all of the criteria. And it's really the board's choice of how we want to do that. And all Marcia suggested is we add it in black and white to our ordinance saying, this is what our standard practice is, even though we've already been doing it. That's just to, safeguard us. And then, that was it. That was the only changes. It was really minor.
Lovely. Make a motion.
I did. I make a motion, we adopt
I'll second.
the new rules and procedures.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That was easy.
Well, that was the easiest application all night.
Yeah.
And now you have to do officers.
Officers.
Yeah.
Richard, have you become an official member?
I have
Last
not,
I knew you were alternate.
I have not, but that is forthcoming.
And Eric
Is.
I am.
came
yeah.
on as an official member.
I did.
Good for you.
He just jumped through the hoop. He wanted it better than me.
I was gonna assign seating. I mean,
So,
I don't think I had much choice in any of this.
the newspaper said there was one regular member and 3 alternates available. So Richard comes on, we don't need another regular member, we just need some alternates.
so right now, as it is, we have 1 full member position available, and I believe, yes, the 3 alternate
Well, I'm
positions.
pushing Richard to take that.
So that's for him to decide if he wants to do that and
Don't
to.
twist his arm some more.
No, I was down in the planning department this week, and they informed me of the procedure, and I am following that procedure.
Thank you.
Do you have to go through the appointments committee?
No, I just have to show up with a gun. Yes.
Yeah, he's got to go to the committee.
Yes. So this is a
I
public.
met
Yes.
with Bruce Cheney and stuff.
Yes, I need to fill out an application,
Gotcha.
and I'm in process of that.
Awesome.
And as I stated before, there is another applicant in the pipeline that's going to go to the appointment subcommittee. They just have not scheduled, I think, their next
Very
meeting yet.
good.
So.
Good,
Very
we need
good.
So for me,
alternates.
it is simple, well, actually, I think that I will be, either way, it's in process.
Thank you.
So Gabe's gonna put in his article how we need alternates.
Yes.
All righty. Our terms are for 1 year.
Yep.
We have to be reelected just as the mayor or city council or the president or anybody else we so choose. So I kind of dropped into the position of chairman by de facto. And I tend to be a little nonchalant and more inviting to people instead of using the gavel that I've been asking for.
You have.
And
What's wrong with that?
it's,
Do you like doing
I
that?
want to be inviting to the public, you know.
You are.
And be, I don't want them to think they're coming to the courthouse with Judge Carroll with his black robe on, ready to send him to
Oh,
jail.
but Judge Carroll would never send you to jail.
I hope the zoning board's not sending anybody to jail.
Michael,
but-
do you like doing what you're doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, then.
This is where people come to get their dreams crushed. This is City Hall.
He loves it.
Yeah, so giving you some realistic feedback, yes, at times you do appear to be
Nonchalant.
unprepared and nonchalant.
Yeah.
However, I will say that you do have a welcoming vibe, if that's, so, from us, other people on the board, we would like you to be prepared as you can, but at the same time, that other element that you bring that is uniquely you, I think is very good.
So if you would like to be chairman again, I will certainly nominate you to be chair.
And you have a good vice chair to help you.
And
But wait, I have to be nominated. Somebody else may want to be vice chair.
Richard, I want you to be secretary if you so accept.
We're not even a full member yet, come on.
Well, it's in the works.
What does the secretary do?
In case I'm not here and Marcia's not here, you run the meeting.
Oh, geez.
And we'll have a couple alternates, so you can still run the meeting.
And you gotta bring refreshments.
The secretary also
You
reviews,
have to bring coffee and cookies.
Okay.
Richard, you have to review the minutes and give feedback to Scott before he sends them out to the rest of the board.
Understood, fair point. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I have a good mind for that.
That was just in this rules that we
Okay.
just
The new
read.
rules.
That was in the rules.
I'm good with that. I mean, I generally don't disagree with the minutes.
Mhm.
Are the minutes exactly how I remember the
Do,
meeting?
do you want me to go over the functions of each officer? I can.
Sure.
Real briefly, sure.
Chairman shall be selected annually by a majority vote of the board in the month of January. The chairman shall preside over meetings and hearings, appoint such committees as directed by the board, and shall affix his or her signature in the name of the board. The chairman shall serve as a regular voting member of the board. Vice chair shall be elected annually by a majority vote of the board. In the month of January, the vice chair shall preside in the absence of the chairman and shall have the full powers for the chairman on matters which come before the board during the absence of the chairman. A secretary shall be elected annually by the majority of the board. The secretary shall review the minutes prepared by the zoning technician. And that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a nomination to nominate Mike as chairman. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Chair? There you go.
Thank you. And
I would like to nominate Marcia Hayward as vice chair.
And I'll second it. All in favor? And I want to nominate Richard to be secretary.
The water boy.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you.
There you go.
That was easy.
I did not.
What else?
I
That's it?
recused myself
Can I
from that
actually,
vote.
Wait, I got another question.
Oh,
Somebody said, I thought it was Mr. Cronin possibly, that if we approved that tonight on White Oaks, that the planning board could reduce the density. I don't think that's right. Once we approve it,
I don't think, I think if the zoning board approves a variance for density, the density is what the zoning board approves it to be.
the planning board can't
I don't think
change
the planning
that.
board
They
can
can say,
reduce
oh, you
the-
gotta put a tree up, or you gotta do this.
They can do other things, but they can't reduce.
Well, in clarification, he was speaking specifically in context, it was when he was speaking of the traffic study.
And that would be
the
accurate. If
context-
during a traffic study, it's evaluated that the road can't support this, and it could only, state school is an example of that.
Right.
So if the planning board could approve an overall development plan with, say, 2,000 units, as they did. If a traffic study comes back and it says the road can't support that, and there's no way to achieve the requirements of the traffic study, you would have to reduce your density. So that is accurate in that.
So he was I believe he was not speaking of anything other than that traffic study.
Right,
and
but
how-
if you got a bunch of traffic experts saying, oh, that White Oaks could handle 24
But
more
but that's having a study that
you
that-
couldn't
that
deny
shows
it or
and
reduce it
demonstrates that.
on that fact.
Let's say hypothetically you wanted to put a rooftop deck in a really crowded residential area. Could the planning board tell someone they can't do that?
I don't see how.
No, so in that one, I'll go back to, single-family homes, the planning board does not review those.
I see.
So that, it's only trip for
That's right.
would only
That's
be
right.
to the zoning board. Other than that, all they need is a building permit.
So it's the top of the handrail, the top of the last permanent structure, that's what is in that in the city of
Mhm.
Laconia, that 34-foot. So,
And
the landowner has rights too, we have to remember
unfortunately,
that.
like,
It's true.
right across from the Margate there, on the same side as the Margate, there's some condos, and a couple of them, they built straight up, just a box, it's maximum footprint, and they built straight up, and we couldn't stop them because they could go 36 feet high and they could make it as ugly as they want. They don't have to make it peak roof and a dormer and make it pretty.
Sure.
And I want to do something about that, that if your footprint is only so big, you can only go so high, so it doesn't look like the elevator test tower. But we don't have the rules right now.
Master plan.
But you need master
I
plan.
really want to do something about
So is that a matter of
before
creating a zone with a
more
certain set
happen.
of building criteria and applying it to certain areas?
So you could definitely create performance standards for zoning districts that would have the criteria that you're looking for, and that would not be like a height restriction. It would be like
Architectural.
it would be a standard of what you would hold.
I think that would be fantastic for the city sooner than later.
Yes.
So I think a great way to relay that is my segue to my other topic that I wanted to talk about was the master plan. So we are out to bid for that. We should, the bid closes the end of this month, and then we will be selecting a contractor. And we'll be starting with their master plan steering committee. We have had 6 serious inquiries from some very serious firms. So we're very, very excited. And as soon as that closes out, I will be more than happy to share that with everybody. But I just want to say how excited we are for that.
Oh, yes.
With that, as part of that master plan, to highlight kind of everything that was talked about tonight, we asked for that implementation chapter. And I think that is what is really very important, especially driving changes in our zoning ordinance of where do we want to be and how do we get there, is that chapter is actually going to relay, this is your path forward to get to that. And I think, when we finish the master plan, it's going to be a good time to do a rewrite of the zoning ordinance.
Absolutely.
Site plan regulations and subdivision regulations to steer everything in that consistent direction. With the master plan, we are going to be looking to have input sessions from all the land use boards and city council. That's one of the things that we want to make sure that we have, so that every land use board and council, we're all on the same page. This is the direction of the city, this is where we want to go, this is what we want to be when we grow up. And I think highlighting developments of areas that we don't want, that we want to preserve as rural, or we want to increase density, is going to be a great place to have a workshop and talk about all of these things. So
Is there residential input to that process as well?
there is going to be plenty of public input sessions, and there's going to be public workshops as well, where people can come in and voice their input. So
Like 10 or 12 years ago, we had charrettes talking
Yes.
about the master plan. It was back when, what's,
Shanna.
Saunders?
Yep.
Shana Saunders?
Yep, so that is a great master planning process. You're getting all the input from all the interested parties, from all your boards, all your committees, all your residents, everybody, your business owners, all that. And that is the exact process we are taking this go around as well.
But we're paying somebody to do it for us?
Yes, we are paying a professional contractor to do that for us, to make sure it's done the right way with all the public input, the transparency.
We did a lot of work on it, and it just seemed to get tossed aside.
So they did start doing a master plan in 2006. Oh, no, it was not 2000, sorry. They had the one in 2007.
I
And
would
then
say
Shanna
13,
was
14.
doing, I think it was 16 or 17 they were doing it, and she had a lot of work. And then, I don't know when she departed from the city, and then another planning director came in, and they started fresh, and that's where
It kind of just got
our,
thrown to
our,
the wayside.
our very short master plan arrived. And now we're looking to go back to do a very significant,
How'd you get the funding for that?
I begged.
Good job.
Hey,
Good begging.
Some of
Whatever
us seem to
works.
think like it's a good idea, right? I
You
mean-
know, I'm very fortunate we had a lot of city councilors that were like, hey, you know what, it's a really good idea. I'm not gonna name names, but there's one sitting in the room. So,
Of course.
Hey,
But let me ask you,
they
when,
gave clergymen to the firefighters.
a master plan is so very important because it's your guiding document for your entire city
yeah,
of where you wanna be. Like, I can't it is so important. And I'm glad that we're finally gonna do one the right way,
yeah,
with experts and all the corresponding studies that go with it.
yeah.
So,
And so we will then have,
Your better
state of New
existing master
Hampshire
plan?
says, has to be done
Our
as
existing
well.
master plan,
Yeah.
if you read it, it
No.
describes.
There's been a
the
lot from the
reality
state
that no
also
longer
that has
exists.
made
It's
input into
about
that.
The state has
stagnant real
changed a
estate
lot of
values
things, and
and
this is gonna be
growth
our,
and-
you know, there's a lot of people that come in like, I don't wanna do this here and I don't wanna do that there. But in order to do those things, you need to have a document that really says,
No.
That's right.
that, this is why. And
I wouldn't
that's
tell-
what we're
I
doing.
wouldn't really wanna tell
So-
people what
Well,
to
I
do with
wanted to
their
ask you, the
property,
state,
but
last time I knew, was still,
if
I
people
don't
buy
know
the
what the
property
final
in a
vote
neighborhood
was
because of
on,
its character, we should
was it
take steps to
ADUs?
preserve that, right?
Oh, so they did,
something that.
there was a law change on ADUs, so we are gonna have to make a slight amendment to our ADU ordinance that we have. But it's really just, so we required the administrative review, and I think in the new state law, it says we can't do that. So even though we were very permissive in what we were doing, we went kind of, we're above and beyond the state, we're gonna have to amend that to remove that. So it's just be a singular item that we amend. But other than that, we were,
There were a
So
couple of
it was gonna be
zoning
by
things
right
that-
instead of special exception?
we already changed it to by right, we just
Have
said
that
that,
already,
Yeah.
hey, submit this form so we know that you're doing it, and the state says you can't do that, so we're gonna have to remove that.
Interesting.
Okay,
But-
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I wanna thank you all for your dedication and hard work and for reelecting me.